The United States, its allies, and software group Microsoft have unveiled successful attempts at infiltrating critical networks in the United States. They say a Chinese state-backed group is behind this hack. A report published by Microsoft identifies the hackers as the group Volt Typhoon. The group is said to be aiming to disrupt important communications infrastructure between the US and Asia in the event of a military confrontation. The hackers have compromised systems in Guam, where the US has military bases that can be used to respond in case of conflict in the Pacific. Volt Typhoon has also targeted networks on the US mainland, affecting several sectors, including the government, education, and information technology. Microsoft warns detecting the cyber attacks is difficult because they blend into a computer's normal background activity. The hackers are said to have been active since mid-2021. Microsoft says compromised accounts must be closed or changed. And for more, Lo Min joins us live from Shanghai. Min, serious accusations of cyber espionage there. Of course, Beijing, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, has had time to react to this. How have they framed these charges from Microsoft, Washington, and its allies?
Well, no prizes for guessing that China has denied these accusations, given that in the past, China has never acknowledged hacking into American infrastructure despite multiple such allegations from the US. And this time, without naming Microsoft, China says that the US is now expanding its channels of disseminating false information beyond using government agencies to now using private companies. Have a listen.
我们注意到有关报道。 我想说的是，这是一份东拼西凑、证据链严重缺失、极不专业的报告。我们还注意到，美国国家安全局等政府机构以及英国、澳大利亚、加拿大、新西兰等国的相关机构也同时发布了类似报告。很明显，这是美国出于地缘政治目的，发动五眼联盟国家采取的集体虚假信息行动。
Well, China has then turned their fingers around to accuse the U.S. National Security Agency of being the world's largest hacking group, calling them, quote, the hacker empire. The Chinese Foreign Ministry has urged the U.S. to stop spreading this misinformation that they say is done in a bid to divert attention from the U.S.'s own malicious activity, because we know that in the past there has been evidence of the U.S. Hacking into Chinese infrastructure, for instance, Chinese telecoms giant Huawei, as well as other military and leadership targets.
Well, Min, you mentioned all this, and then we've got the US president just last week saying he was looking forward to a thawing intentions between the US and China. With these accusations and counter-accusations, is this likely to be happening?
Sorry, come again. Is this likely to?
Is this likely to be happening, this thaw intentions mentioned and forecast by President Joe Biden?
Yeah, well, it really depends on what happens next, because can the two countries agree to sit down to de-escalate the situation? But as far as we know, both countries have not resumed defense talks. And even though the Chinese Commerce Secretary is now in the U.S., it's not clear whether he will be able to take up this issue and address it with his U.S. counterpart on this trip. And the U.S. could take stronger actions, for instance, by imposing economic and financial sanctions on China for this cyber attack. That's not completely out of the question, given that former President Barack Obama has threatened just that in 2015 after an alleged cyber attack from China. Now, worth noting that China is at the same time strengthening its own counter-espionage laws, and in recent times they have been raiding multiple consultancy agencies over national security and espionage concerns. And just this weekend they had placed a ban on American chip company Micron for similar security reasons. Analysts are saying that as tensions continue to flare, especially over Taiwan, this kind of cyber attacks that could potentially puncture American military operations in Asia would only continue to ramp up.
Thanks so much for explaining all that to us. Lo Min speaking to us live there from Shanghai.